Nvidia just dropped $20 billion on the biggest deal in its 32-year history. OpenAI pushed out GPT 5.2 after calling an emergency code red. Google made Gemini 3 Flash the default model for millions of users, and Disney invested $1 billion into OpenAI while handling over Mickey Mouse and 200 other characters. All of this happened within about 2 weeks in mid to late December 2025. So let me explain what is going on and why this matters right now. Alright, so the biggest money move just landed on December 24th. Nvidia spent $20 billion to license the main technology and team from Groq, a 9-year-old chip startup that was supposed to compete against Nvidia. And the funny part is that Groq was building something called LPUs, which stands for Language Processing Units, and these chips were designed to be faster and cheaper than Nvidia's GPUs for running AI models. Groq raised $750 million just 3 months earlier at a $6.9 billion value, and now Nvidia is paying almost 3 times that amount. According to Alex Davis, who led Groq's last funding round, the deal came together extremely fast. And here is the thing. Nvidia is not buying Groq as a company. Instead, Nvidia is licensing all of Groq's technology, hiring the founder, Jonathan Ross, hiring the president, Sunny Madra, and bringing in most of the senior team. This is what people call an acquire hire, which basically means Nvidia is buying the people and the technology without calling it a full purchase. And the reason they are doing this is to avoid attention from regulators who might block a normal purchase. Now let's talk about numbers. Nvidia had $60.6 billion in cash and short-term money at the end of October, which is up from only $13.3 billion back in early 2023. That jump shows just how much money Nvidia has been making from selling AI chips. And their stock went up about 1% after the announcement, which means investors think this move makes sense. But not everyone agrees. Some Wall Street people said Groq's chips are still unproven because the memory inside each chip is too small. D.A. Davidson analyst Alex Platt said that Groq's technology is greatly limited to only a small part of AI work, which means the chips cannot do everything Nvidia's GPUs can do. But other people like C.J. Mears from Cantor Fitzgerald said the deal shows that Nvidia is playing both offense and defense at the same time. Offense means they are getting new technology. Defense means they are stopping a possible competitor. And honestly, the timing makes sense when you look at what Groq was building. Groq's LPUs are designed for something called inference, which is when an AI model answers questions or creates outputs after being trained. Training AI models needs huge amounts of computing power, and Nvidia completely controls that market. But inference is different. Inference needs speed and lower energy use, and Groq's chip uses a type of memory called SRAM that sits right inside the chip, which makes them much faster for certain jobs. Groq claimed their chips can run large language models 10 times faster while using 1/10 the energy. Google already uses TPUs, which are tensor processing units, for similar work. So Nvidia probably saw that competition in this inference space could grow fast, and they decided to buy Groq before someone else did. According to an internal email from Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, the company plans to add Groq's processors into something called the Nvidia AI Factory, which will let Nvidia serve more types of AI work. And Groq itself said it will keep running as an independent company with its cloud business still active. But most of the important people and technology are now going to Nvidia. Bernstein analyst Stacy Rasgon said the deal structure keeps the appearance of competition alive even though Groq's leadership and technical talent are moving to Nvidia. Basically, this looks like Nvidia just removed a competitor from the board. Now, here is where things get wild, because while Nvidia was making this huge purchase, OpenAI was dealing with a serious problem. In early December 2025, CEO Sam Altman sent an internal message to everyone at OpenAI saying the company needed to declare code red. Now, code red is basically an emergency signal. That means drop everything else and focus on one problem. And the problem was Google's Gemini 3 model, which launched in later November and immediately jumped to the top of almost every benchmark. ChatGPT enterprise message volume grew 8 times since November 2024, showing strong business adoption. But recent data showed that Google's Gemini was gaining ground fast in the consumer market. According to reports, Gemini's share of weekly mobile app downloads, monthly active users, and global website visits all increased at a higher rate than ChatGPT. So OpenAI moved the release date of GPT 5.2 forward by several weeks and pushed it out on December 11, just about 1 week after the code red announcement. GPT 5.2 comes in 3 versions. GPT 5.2 Intent is the first version for everyday writing and searches. GPT 5.2 Thinking is for harder work like coding, long documents, math and planning. And GPT 5.2 Pro is the top version that delivers maximum accuracy for difficult problems. OpenAI says this model is their most capable model yet for professional work. It is better at creating spreadsheets, building presentations, writing code, understanding images, reading long context, using tools, and handling complex projects. The model has a 400,000 token context window and a knowledge cutoff date of August 31, 2025. Now, let's look at the benchmarks, because this is where GPT 5.2 really shows improvement. On SWV Bench Pro, which tests software engineering skills, GPT 5.2 Thinking scored 55.6%, which beats Gemini 3 Pro's 43.3%, and Cloud offers 4.5 52%. On GPQA Diamond, which measures graduate level science knowledge, GPT 5.2 hit 92.4% accuracy compared to Gemini 3 Pro's 91.9%. And on something called GDPeval, which checks how well the model performs against human professionals, GPT 5.2 Thinking scored 70.9%, meaning it matches or beats industry experts on 70.9% of well-defined tasks. GPT 5.1 only scored 38.8% on the same test. So this is the first OpenAI model that actually performs at or above human expert level on professional work. The model also has 38% fewer errors in its thinking responses compared to GPT 5.1. But here's the thing. Even though OpenAI says GPT 5.2 was in development for many months, the timing makes it clear this release happened fast because of Google. Fediji Simo, who leads applications at OpenAI, told reporters that the company is working on multiple model releases at the same time. So it would be wrong to see GPT 5.2 as only a response to Gemini 3. But Sam Altman himself said that Google's release of Gemini 3 had less impact on OpenAI's numbers than they originally feared, which basically admits they were watching Google closely. And OpenAI even admitted that some employees inside the company asked for the model release to be pushed back so they could have more time to improve it. But the code red meant the company could not wait. And honestly, the response has been mixed. On one side, GPT 5.2 clearly beats Gemini 3 on several important benchmarks, especially in coding and reasoning. On the other side, some users are saying the improvement do not feel big enough. One reviewer said GPT 5.2 feels less like a breakthrough and more like OpenAI holding its ground. And that brings us to Google, because while OpenAI was scrambling to respond, Google was already moving to the next step. On December 17, Google released Gemini 3 Flash and made it the default model in the Gemini app for millions of people around the world. And this move is huge because it means everyone using Google's AI in search in the Gemini app or through the API is now automatically getting frontier level intelligence at a much lower cost. Gemini 3 Flash is built on the same foundation as Gemini 3 Pro, which launched in November, but it runs 3 times faster and costs way less to use. The pricing is $0.50 per million input tokens and $3 per million output tokens, which is slightly more expensive than Gemini 2.5 Flash, but still cheaper than most top models. And Google says that Gemini 3 Flash actually performs better than Gemini 2.5 Pro while being 3 times faster. The benchmarks back this up. On humanity's last exam, which tests knowledge across many different fields, Gemini 3 Flash scored 33.7% without using any tools. That is close to Gemini 3 Pro's 37.5% and even beats GPT 5.2's 34.5%. On MMMU Pro, which measures reasoning with images and text, Gemini 3 Flash scored 81.2%, which is higher than all competitors including GPT 5.2. And on SWV Bench Verified, which tests coding skills, Gemini 3 Flash hit 78%, which actually beats Gemini 3 Pro's score. That last one surprised a lot of people because it means the faster, cheaper model is performing better than the expensive versions on coding tasks. According to Tulsi Doshi, who leads Gemini products at Google, the company sees Flash as the workhorse model that handles everyday tasks for millions of users, while Pro handles most complex problems. Now, here is where Google really shows its power. Gemini 3 Flash is now the default model in the Gemini app globally, which means it replaced Gemini 2.5 Flash for everyone. It is also rolling out as the default model in the AI mode in Google Search, which reaches users in almost every country. And companies like JetBrains, Figma, Cursor, Harvey, Salesforce, and Workday are already using Gemini 3 Flash for their products. Google also said that since releasing Gemini 3, they have been processing over 1 trillion tokens per day on their API, which shows just how much demand there is. And the thing is, Google has reached that OpenAI cannot match. ChatGPT might have more direct users, but Google owns search, owns YouTube, owns Gmail, owns Google Docs, and owns Android. So when Google makes the model the default across all those products, millions of people start using it without even knowing they switched. The release happened just 6 days after OpenAI launched GPT 5.2. So the entire AI world spent 1 week talking about how OpenAI responded to Google. And then Google immediately dropped a faster, cheaper model that works just as well or better in some areas. It is a back and forth that shows just how fast this competition is moving. And both companies know that being fast or being fastest matters a lot because developers and businesses are choosing which platform to build on right now. Now let's talk about Disney, because this announcement on December 11, the same day OpenAI released GPT 5.2, caught everyone by surprise. Disney and OpenAI announced a $1 billion partnership that keeps OpenAI licensing rights to over 200 Disney characters. And this is not just any characters. We're talking about Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, all the Disney princesses like Ariel, Belle, and Cinderella, characters from Frozen, Mona, Toy Story, Marvel characters like Iron Man and Black Panther, and Star Wars characters like Darth Vader and Yoda. The deal is a 3-year licensing agreement that lets users of OpenAI's Sora video platform and ChatGPT images create short videos and images using these characters. And Disney is not just licensing the characters, Disney is also making a $1 billion equity investment in OpenAI and getting warrants to buy even more shares later. Here is how the deal works. Starting next year, Sora users will be able to type in a prompt and generate short videos featuring Disney characters, props, vehicles, and information. For example, you could ask Sora to create a video of Woody from Toy Story walking through Andy's room. Or you could ask for a scene with Darth Vader on the Death Star. But there are limits. The deal does not include any talent faces or voices, which means you can have a video of Woody but without Tom Hanks' voice. And Disney also created something called a joint steering committee with OpenAI to watch for any content that breaks Disney's brand rules. Basically, Disney wants to make sure nobody is using their characters in ways that hurt the brand or create bad content. And honestly, the money side of this deal is fascinating. Disney is investing $1 billion in OpenAI, which makes Disney a major shareholder. OpenAI is currently valued at $500 billion after a recent funding round. OpenAI also gets licensing fees from Disney, though the exact amount was not shared publicly, and Disney gets the ability to use OpenAI's technology across its own products. The announcement said Disney will become a major customer of OpenAI, using the APIs to build new tools for Disney Plus and putting ChatGPT to work for its employees. So this is not just about letting fans make videos, this is about Disney using AI inside its own business. But here is the wild part. Just 1 day before announcing the OpenAI deal, Disney sent a legal letter to Google saying that Google was using Disney's content without permission to train AI models. Disney has also sued other AI companies like Midjourney and sent similar letters to Character.ai and Meta. So Disney is basically fighting most of the AI industry for stealing its characters while also partnering with OpenAI to license those same characters legally. According to sources who talk to reporters, Disney says this OpenAI deal as proof that AI companies can work with creators in fair ways. Disney CEO Bob Iger said the partnership shows how AI companies and creative leaders can work together in responsible ways that respect rights and promote innovation. And Iger made it clear during an interview that Disney has full control over how the characters are used. He said Disney and OpenAI built rules to prevent illegal and harmful content, and Disney can update those rules over time. He also said users will only be able to make 30-second videos, not full movies or shows, and curated selections of the best sort of videos will be available to watch on Disney Plus, which gives Disney another way to fill the platform with user-created content. Bob Iger told CNBC that the deal comes with about 1 year of exclusivity. After the year is up, Disney can license its characters to other AI companies. So this is also Disney testing the waters to see how AI video generation actually works before deciding whether to expand to other platforms. Now, let's wrap this up with a bigger picture, because all of these announcements happened within about 2 weeks in mid to late December 2025. Nvidia spent $20 billion to lock down the inference market before competitors could grow. OpenAI declared code red and rushed out GPT 5.2 to fight back against Google. Google made Gemini 3 Flash the default model for millions of users and is now processing over 1 trillion tokens per day. Disney invested $1 billion in OpenAI and handed over 200 characters for fans to use in AI videos. And honestly, the pace is right now is faster than anything we have seen before. Every company is racing to lock in users, lock in partners, and lock in technology before someone else does. And the competition is only going to get more intense from here. OpenAI needs to prove it can stay ahead even with Google's huge reach. Google needs to show that having the best model matters more than being fast. Nvidia is betting that controlling both training and inference will keep them on top. And Disney is testing whether AI can actually create new value without hurting the brand. That is where we will wrap it up. Drop your thoughts below on which announcement surprised you the most. Make sure you are subscribed, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.